Malik Johnson stood outside the Sterling Gallery, his heart pounding as he clutched his portfolio tightly against his chest. The bright lights of the gallery illuminated the bustling street of New York City, but for Malik, the world felt dimmed by the weight of his anxiety. This was not just a prestigious gallery. It was a beacon of hope for artists like him, a chance to break into the elite circles of the art world. Yet, as he gazed at the impressive facade, memories of his upbringing flooded his mind, reminding him of the struggles he had faced in a marginalized community. Growing up in a neighborhood where dreams often felt like distant stars, Malik had discovered art as a refuge. The colors, the strokes, and the emotions poured onto the canvas became his escape from a reality filled with challenges. It was in those moments, with paint on his hands and music in the air, that he felt truly alive. "This is my chance," he whispered to himself, drawing strength from the memories of late nights spent painting under dim lights, fueled by his passion and determination. Taking a deep breath, Malik stepped into the gallery. The air inside was thick with the scent of polished wood and fresh paint, and the walls were adorned with works that seemed to scream sophistication and exclusivity. As he approached the panel of curators, his palms grew clammy. He had rehearsed his pitch 100 times, but now, standing before the esteemed judges of the art world, words eluded him. "Mr. Johnson, isn't it?" A curatorial voice cut through the tension. A woman with sharp features and a disinterested gaze that seemed to assess him more than his art. "We're eager to see what you've brought." Malik nodded, forcing a smile as he opened his portfolio to reveal a collection that captured the essence of his life. Vivid depictions of joy, pain, and resilience. "Thank you for having me. I believe my work speaks to the experiences of those who often feel unseen." He presented each piece with fervor, his voice trembling with passion. "This piece here represents the struggle of identity in a world that often marginalizes voices like mine. I want to challenge perceptions and showcase the beauty within our narratives." However, as he spoke, he noticed the curators exchanging glances, their expressions shifting from intrigue to skepticism. "Interesting," one of them remarked, leaning back in his chair. "But your style, it's quite unconventional, wouldn't you say? It might not align with the gallery's current vision." Malik's heart sank at the dismissive tone. "I believe art should push boundaries, challenge norms," he replied, trying to maintain composure. "It's about evoking emotion and conversation." "Conversation is great," the woman interjected, her voice dripping with condescension, "but we do need to consider our audience. Your background, your approach, it's not quite what we aim to represent here." The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, suffocating Malik's spirit. He felt the sting of rejection creeping in, each remark cutting deeper. The gallery's vision, it seemed, was clouded by a desire to maintain an image rather than embrace the authenticity of diverse experiences. As he gathered his portfolio, Malik's mind raced. He caught snippets of conversation from the curators in the corner, a discussion about how the gallery must uphold its reputation, how they needed to attract a certain clientele to thrive in the competitive art market. Their voices faded into a blur, replaced by the rising tide of disappointment within him. "Thank you for your time," he managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. With each step toward the exit, he felt the weight of rejection settle on his shoulders like an unwanted cloak. Outside, the vibrant city felt like a stark contrast to the dull ache in his chest. Malik took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the world around him pulse with life. But he also felt a fire igniting within, a determination to create, to rise above the narrow confines of others' perceptions. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but as he looked back at the gallery one last time, he silently vowed to reclaim his narrative and let his art speak louder than any dismissive comment could ever silence. Malik Johnson stepped into his studio, the door creaking softly behind him as he entered the sanctuary that had always provided refuge from the harsh realities of the outside world. The familiar smell of linseed oil and turpentine greeted him, but today it felt heavier, laden with the weight of his recent rejection. He placed his portfolio on the cluttered table, the vibrant canvases inside contrasting starkly with the dull ache in his chest. Heartbroken and frustrated, he felt a visceral need to express the turmoil that churned within him. He pulled out a blank canvas and set it against the wall, the stark white surface beckoning him to pour out his emotions. With every stroke of his brush, he transformed his pain into color, his anger into form. Swirling blues and deep reds began to emerge, weaving together a tapestry that spoke of displacement and identity, a narrative he had lived but could never fully articulate. "Why don't they see it?" Malik muttered to himself, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why don't they understand?" The brush moved swiftly, almost defiantly, as he painted scenes from his childhood, moments of joy interspersed with the shadows of hardship. Faces of friends and family flickered in and out of focus on the canvas, their expressions mirroring his own: confusion, hope, and resilience. Hours slipped by as he immersed himself in the work, losing track of time. The studio, usually filled with scattered thoughts and unfinished projects, transformed into a vibrant realm of his own creation. Malik wiped the sweat from his brow, stepping back to assess his progress. Each piece he crafted became a testament to his journey, an exploration of what it meant to be an artist of color in a world that often felt hostile. As he shared snippets of his work on social media, Malik felt a flicker of hope. The digital realm allowed him to connect with others who resonated with his experiences. Late at night, he tapped away at his keyboard, words flowing as freely as the paint on his canvases. "Art is not just about beauty," he wrote in a post. "It's about truth, about the stories we carry and the voices we amplify." The response was slow at first, but then it came in waves. Likes and shares piled up, and comments flooded in, commending his raw talent and emotional depth. "This is powerful," one follower wrote. "Your art speaks for those who feel unheard." Malik's heart raced as he noticed a comment from Zoe Martinez, a respected art critic he had admired from afar. "I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work, Malik. Your voice is important." Her words felt like a lifeline, a validation he had been yearning for since his dismissal from the Sterling Gallery. The next morning, while sipping his coffee, Malik received a notification that sent a thrill of excitement through him. Zoe had shared one of his posts on her profile, praising his work to her extensive network. "This artist is redefining contemporary art with his powerful narratives. Don't miss out on his journey." His phone buzzed incessantly, and for the first time since his rejection, Malik felt a spark of optimism. The momentum continued to build, and soon he received a message that would change everything: an invitation to showcase his work at an international art festival in Paris. "Paris?" Malik exclaimed, almost dropping his phone in disbelief. "This can't be real." He read the message again, his heart pounding as he absorbed the implications of this opportunity. It was a chance to not only display his art, but to reclaim his place in the world that had tried to silence him. He called his best friend, Jamal, who answered with a sleepy voice. "Dude, what's happening? It's too early for this." "I got an invitation to Paris," Malik shouted, unable to contain his excitement. "They want me to showcase my work." "Are you kidding me?" Jamal's voice cracked with disbelief. "This is huge, Malik. You've got to go." "I know. I can't believe it either. This could be my chance to show them what I'm made of." Malik's mind raced with possibilities, visions of vibrant galleries, and engaged crowds swirling in his imagination. As he hung up the phone, a sense of determination washed over him. This was not just a chance to showcase his art. It was an opportunity to redefine his narrative, to take his place among the greats and challenge the very norms that had sought to exclude him. With renewed vigor, Malik returned to his easel, ready to create not just art, but a legacy that would resonate far beyond the canvas. In the heart of Paris, Malik Johnson stood amidst a whirlwind of colors and cultures, feeling a profound sense of belonging that had eluded him in New York. The vibrant atmosphere of the International Art Festival enveloped him, igniting a spark of excitement within. As he wandered through the crowded halls of the exhibition space, he couldn't help but admire the diversity of artists around him. Paintings, sculptures, and installations from every corner of the globe adorned the walls, each telling a unique story of struggle and triumph. "Isn't it incredible?" a voice piped up beside him. Malik turned to see a young Indian woman, her eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "I've never felt so inspired." "Yes," Malik replied, a smile breaking across his face. It's like every piece here is a part of a larger conversation. They chatted animatedly, exchanging thoughts on their art and experiences in the industry. Malik felt his confidence swell with each passing moment, realizing that he was not alone in his journey. This festival was a celebration of identity, and he was ready to embrace his own narrative as a Black artist. Later that evening, as the festival kicked into high gear, Malik prepared for his exhibition. The gallery space was alive with energy, filled with art enthusiasts, critics, and fellow artists eager to see his work. Malik stepped back, his heart racing as he gazed at his pieces, each brushstroke reflecting his struggles and triumphs, his identity and resilience. He felt a sense of pride wash over him, eclipsing the pain of rejection he had faced back home. "Malik!" A familiar voice called out, snapping him from his reverie. It was Zoe Martinez, the influential art critic who had championed his work on social media. She approached him with an exuberant expression. "The buzz around your exhibition is unreal. You're going to blow everyone away." "Thanks, Zoe. I'm just hoping people connect with what I've created," Malik replied, his nerves still palpable. "They will," she assured him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You have a gift for storytelling through your art. Just remember, this is your moment." As Malik's exhibition commenced, he found himself surrounded by an eager audience. Each person stood captivated by the emotions radiating from his canvases. He listened intently as viewers discussed their interpretations, their voices mingling with the ambient music that filled the air. "Look at this piece," a middle-aged woman remarked to her companion, gesturing towards Malik's painting titled Lost in Transition. "It speaks volumes about the struggle of finding one's place in the world." Malik's heart swelled with gratitude. This was the validation he had been yearning for, the recognition that his art mattered, that his voice could resonate with others. As the evening progressed, a prominent art dealer approached Malik, his interest evident. "Your work is phenomenal, Malik," he said, his eyes sparkling with ambition. "I believe you have the potential to reach a global audience. I'd love to discuss how we can collaborate." Malik's mind raced at the prospect. This opportunity could change everything. "I appreciate that," he said cautiously, weighing his options. "I want to make sure that any partnership aligns with my vision as an artist." "Of course," the dealer replied, nodding in understanding. "Your authenticity is what sets you apart. I want to help amplify that voice." As the night wound down, Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. Embracing his identity had unlocked a wellspring of creativity and resilience within him. He was no longer that anxious artist seeking validation. He was Malik Johnson, an artist ready to share his truth with the world. Back in New York, the ripples of Malik's success began to reach the Sterling Gallery, where whispers of discontent grew louder. The art community rallied behind him, sharing his story on social media and condemning the gallery's previous treatment of the talented artist. Hashtags like #JusticeForMalik and #ArtWithoutBarriers began trending, igniting conversations about representation and equity in the art world. Within the gallery's walls, tension mounted as curators and board members faced mounting pressure from the public. The backlash was fierce, and they could no longer ignore the consequences of their actions. As Malik's star continued to rise, they were forced to reckon with their past mistakes, caught in a storm of their own making. Malik, meanwhile, reveled in the support of his peers. He had transformed his pain into power, and now he was ready to use his platform to advocate for change. In the face of adversity, he had found his voice and was determined to make it heard. Malik Johnson stood in front of the towering Sterling Gallery, the weight of the world resting heavily on his shoulders. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the pavement, each step he took echoing the conflict brewing within him. The gallery had reached out, desperate to mend their tarnished reputation after the uproar surrounding his unjust removal. They were offering him a solo exhibition, a chance he had once dreamed of, yet now the thought felt tainted. He hesitated at the entrance, the glass doors reflecting the turmoil in his heart. He recalled the dismissive comments from the curators, the way their eyes had glossed over his work as if it were invisible. "I'm not sure I want to be part of their narrative anymore," Malik muttered under his breath. Just then, His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was Zoe Martinez, the influential critic who had become a mentor and friend since his rise in the art world. "Malik, I just heard the news. This is huge." Zoe's voice crackled with excitement over the line. "You have to take this opportunity. Show them what they've lost." "Zoe," Malik sighed, pacing back and forth as he spoke. "I don't know. How can I go back there after the way they treated me? It feels like a trap." "Look, I get it. But think about it. You have a platform now, a voice that can reach so many. This exhibition could be your chance to speak out about the inequities in the art scene. Use it, Malik. Don't let them silence you again." Malik paused, her words resonating deep within him. The idea of using the exhibition as a platform to address racial inequality ignited a fire in his belly. "You're right. I can't let them dictate my narrative any longer. I'll do it, but on my terms." The days leading up to the exhibition were a whirlwind of activity. Malik poured himself into his work, creating pieces that reflected not only his journey but the struggles faced by countless artists of color. Each stroke of the brush became a cathartic release, a way to channel his anger and pain into something beautiful and powerful. On the night of the exhibition, the gallery buzzed with excitement. The air was thick with anticipation, the walls adorned with Malik's poignant creations, each one telling a story of resilience and identity. As the guests mingled, Malik felt a mix of anxiety and determination coursing through him. He had prepared a speech, a culmination of his experiences and the message he wanted to convey. As the clock struck 8, Malik stepped onto the small stage, the spotlight illuminating him against the backdrop of his art. The chatter faded, and a hush fell over the crowd. He could see curious faces, some familiar and others unknown, all waiting to hear what he had to say. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "This exhibition is more than just a showcase of my work. It's a reflection of the struggles faced by many artists who have been marginalized and overlooked." He glanced at the pieces around him, each one a testament to his journey. "I was told my work didn't fit the gallery's vision, that I didn't belong. But art isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about breaking free from it." The audience nodded, some murmuring in agreement. He could feel their energy, their willingness to listen. "This isn't just about me," Malik continued, his heart racing. "It's about representation and inclusivity in the art world. It's about acknowledging the voices that have been silenced for too long. We need to create spaces where everyone feels they belong, where creativity can thrive without the constraints of prejudice." As he spoke, he noticed a few members of the gallery's board in the back, their expressions a mix of discomfort and disbelief. Malik pressed on, unwavering in his message. Art has the power to challenge societal norms, to inspire change, but it requires courage to embrace diversity, to uplift those who have been marginalized. Applause erupted as he finished, the crowd moved by his words. Malik felt a surge of empowerment, a sense of validation that he had longed for since his first rejection. He knew he was not just reclaiming his place in the art world. He was also challenging the very foundation upon which it stood. As the evening unfolded, Malik mingled with guests, their conversations filled with enthusiasm and support. He had transformed his pain into a powerful statement, and in doing so, had begun to forge a path for others like him. The night was far from over, and Malik could feel the momentum building, a wave of change ready to crash against the walls of the art establishment. The atmosphere in the Sterling Gallery was electric, charged with the energy of a crowd that had come to witness Malik Johnson's long-awaited exhibition. As he stood before the audience, his heart raced, a mix of excitement and anxiety racing through him. He had poured his soul into the pieces displayed around him, each stroke of paint reflecting his journey, his pain, and his triumphs. The moment felt monumental, not just for him, but for the very fabric of the art community that had so often overlooked voices like his. "Art has the power to transcend barriers," Malik began, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "But it also reflects the struggles we face every day. As an artist of color, I have often felt marginalized, as if my work was not worthy of being seen. But I stand here tonight to claim my space in this world." The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, their eyes glued to him, captivated. Among them, Zoe Martinez stood with a proud smile, her heart swelling with admiration for her protege. She had watched Malik evolve, seen the fire ignite within him, and now, witnessing his words resonating with so many, felt like a victory. At the back of the room, Mr. Collins, a member of the gallery's board, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his brow furrowed as he listened to Malik. The weight of his past actions pressed heavily on him. He had been one of the voices who deemed Malik's art unfit for their prestigious gallery, and now, as the artist spoke with such passion, the reality of his misguided judgment loomed large. Collins crossed his arms, trying to steel himself against the emotions swirling inside, but he could feel the discontent of those around him. "Your art matters, Malik," a voice called out from the crowd, breaking the tension. It was an older woman, her eyes shining with tears. "It matters to us." Malik's gaze met hers, and he felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you. It matters because it tells the story of our experiences, our histories, and our dreams. I hope to inspire others to embrace their identity and speak their truth." As he finished his speech, the audience erupted into applause. A standing ovation washed over him like a warm embrace, and tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. It was a moment of validation that he had long desired, a recognition of his talent and the importance of his voice. Yet, as he basked in the glow of admiration, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of resentment toward the gallery that had once rejected him. He turned to look at the artwork behind him, each piece a testament to his resilience. The colors danced vibrantly on the canvas, capturing the essence of his journey, yet the gallery's attempt to showcase diversity felt hollow in comparison. Malik could see it clearly now. While they tried to present an image of inclusivity, it was his authenticity that truly resonated with the people. As the applause faded, Malik stepped down from the podium, his heart still racing. He made his way through the crowd, shaking hands and accepting congratulations. "Thank you so much for your support," he told each person, their faces beaming with pride. But in the back of his mind, he was haunted by the question of whether the gallery genuinely recognized the value of his work, or if they were merely trying to save face after their earlier mistakes. Zoe approached him, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "You were incredible, Malik. This is just the beginning for you." "Thanks, Zoe," he replied, though a hint of doubt lingered. "But do you think they really mean it? Or is this just a way for them to repair their reputation?" Zoe furrowed her brow, considering his words carefully. "I think you have the power to make them mean it. Your voice is strong, and your art speaks volumes. Don't let their past actions overshadow your future." Malik nodded, but the lingering anger still simmered within him. He wanted to believe that the gallery's newfound interest in diversity was genuine, but the scars of rejection were not easily forgotten. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, yet he knew that his art and his story were worth fighting for. The world needed to hear his voice, and he was ready to share it, no matter the cost. Malik sat across from Zoe in the dimly lit cafe, the air thick with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. He fiddled with the edge of his paper napkin, a swirl of emotions swirling within him. Zoe leaned in closer, her voice steady. "Malik, I did some digging after the exhibition. You deserve to know the truth about what happened at Sterling." Malik's heart raced. "What do you mean? I thought it was just a misunderstanding." Zoe shook her head, her expression serious. "It was Mr. Collins. He was the one who pushed for your removal. He didn't believe your work aligned with their vision, and worse, he had some pretty prejudiced views about what art should look like." Malik's chest tightened. The anger that had simmered beneath the surface since that fateful day at the gallery bubbled back up. "I can't believe it. After everything I've gone through, to have someone like him dictate my worth, he thought you were out of place," Zoe continued, her eyes locking onto Malik's. "And that's exactly why you need to speak out. You can't let him or anyone else silence you. Your art is powerful, and it speaks to issues that need to be addressed." Malik took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities. "But what if it backfires? What if they come after me again? Or what if it doesn't?" Zoe countered, her voice unwavering. "What if you become the voice that inspires change? You're already a symbol of resilience for so many." This could be your moment to really shake things up. Malik's resolve began to strengthen. He thought of the countless artists who had come before him, silenced and ignored simply because they didn't fit a mold. He envisioned standing before a crowd, sharing not just his story but the stories of countless others. You're right. I can't let fear hold me back. It's time to confront them. The next day, Malik stood before a group of reporters at a makeshift press conference outside the Sterling Gallery. The sun blazed overhead, but the cool breeze did little to calm his nerves. He cleared his throat, gripping the podium tightly. Thank you all for being here. I'm Malik Johnson, and I want to talk about my experience with the Sterling Gallery. As he spoke, Malik laid bare the truth of his removal, detailing the prejudice he had faced and the systemic issues that plagued the art community. Mr. Collins didn't just remove my work, he dismissed an entire narrative. A narrative that speaks to the struggles of marginalized artists who are often pushed aside. The crowd murmured, the tension palpable. He continued, his voice growing stronger. I refuse to be silenced. My art is not just for me. It's for every artist who has ever felt like they didn't belong in a space that should welcome them. A reporter raised a hand. What do you hope to achieve with this? Malik met her gaze, his heart pounding. I want accountability. I want the art world to recognize the talent and stories of diverse artists. I want Mr. Collins to know that his views are outdated and that there's a new generation of artists who will not be silenced. As the media picked up the story, outrage spread like wildfire across social platforms. Malik's bravery resonated with many, sparking discussions about diversity and representation in the art world. Soon, the gallery found itself under intense scrutiny, and Mr. Collins' actions were brought into the public eye. In the following weeks, Malik received an unexpected email from the gallery's board, announcing an emergency meeting. He learned that due to the backlash and the growing movement for change, Mr. Collins had been ousted from his position. Malik's heart surged with a mix of relief and vindication. The gallery issued a public apology and committed to promoting diverse artists. They invited Malik to collaborate on a new initiative aimed at uplifting underrepresented voices in art. This is just the beginning, Malik thought, a smile breaking across his face. As he stood in front of his canvas that evening, Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer merely an artist. He was a catalyst for change. The strokes of his brush felt lighter, each color a declaration of resilience and hope. His journey had transformed him. What began as a painful rejection had evolved into a powerful movement for justice and equity in the art world. Malik knew that art could transcend barriers, and it was time to continue telling those stories, one canvas at a time.